G'day folks, Costo here once again as the host of Bushbeat, where we showcase country rugby league right around Queensland and New South Wales and also the other states and territories at the grassroots level. Coming up in episode 19, you'll hear from Ben Barba, the former Man of Steel in Super League in the UK, and before that, of course, Dally M medal winner in the NRL. We also speak to his club coach, Mark Bowden, in Mackay, where Barba and co lifted the trophy last weekend. That was South's beating Brothers in the grand final in a place that absolutely loves its rugby league. But before that, our statewide wrap for New South Wales, that's next here on Bushbeat. Welcome back to Bushbeat. Coming up, you'll hear from Ben Barba in Mackay, but first, as per usual, we kick off our New South Wales scoreboard with a recap of the Denton Cup run by the Newcastle Rugby League. Last weekend, week 2 of the finals, Maitland way too strong for Cessnock. The Pickers 36 points to 8 over the Goannas. So the defending premiers through to the big dance once again. And in what was sudden death, Western Suburbs getting rid of Wyong, the Rosellas prevailing 30 points to 16. So this Sunday at Curry Curry, it's the preliminary final with the Goannas taking on the Rosellas from 3:30. The winner to take on the Pickers in the big one. Staying in the Hunter, and Singleton was at home for the Group 21 grand final last weekend, and it was the Greys who emerged victorious. 28-22 the final score over minor premiers Greta Branxton. Congratulations to Singleton. In Group 4 at Moree up in the northwest, the Boars 32-16 grand final winners last weekend against Gunnedah. Congratulations to the Moree Boars. Back on the coast in the Northern Rivers, 2 more elimination finals last weekend, more like grand final qualifiers. Either way, it was sudden death. Firstly, Marist Brothers, they defeated Bilambil 20 points to 6. Then Murwillumbah crushed minor premiers Coogin 38 points to 10. That scoreline coming as a big shock, especially after Coogin lost just one game during the regular season. This Sunday, it's the grand final with Marist Brothers up against the Mustangs. Crozier Field in Lismore is the venue, and the kickoff is 3:10. In Group 2 last weekend at Coffs Harbour, famous of course for its big banana, the locals saw Nambucca Heads claiming back-to-back premierships. And for the first time, I might add, in more than 3 decades, the Roosters 14-2 grand final winners over Sawtell. Well done to the Chooks. In Group 3, the finals continued last weekend in sudden death. Macleay Valley, the Mustangs, 21 points to 8 over Warhope. And in the Sunday match, Ulbar edged out Port Macquarie Sharks, 20 points to 18. So the Pirates into the grand final. For this Sunday, we've got the preliminary final. It's the Sharkies hosting the Mustangs. Kickoff, by the way, is 2:45. On the Central Coast last weekend, a place in the grand final was on the line when Erina locked horns with Toukley in the major semi. Full-time score, Eagles 4, Hawks 8. That was certainly raised a few eyebrows. And in the minor semi-final between Kincumber and Wyong, Colts 28-18 over Roos. This Sunday, the preliminary final with Erina to reload for Kincumber from 3:05 at Woy Woy, and the winner to play Toukley in the decider. In the Macarthur last Sunday at Kirkham Park in sudden death, Collegians 32, the Oaks 14, and in the major semi, Camden 22, Oakdale 18. The Rams straight into the season decided to defend their title again. And this Sunday at the Dudley Chesham Sports Ground, Oakdale play Collegians from 3 o'clock in the preliminary final. Back on the coast in the Gong, in Wollongong, the Illawarra, last weekend, the preliminary final. Collegians demolished Dapto 40 points to 10. The Dogs to now play Western Suburbs in the grand final at Wynn Stadium this coming Saturday at 3 o'clock, which brings back quite a few memories for yours truly of when I called the grand final at the very same venue 24 years ago for one of the local radio stations. In Group 7, last Saturday, the minor qualifying final at Flinders Field, Gerringong beat Stingrays 20 points to 12, so bye-bye Rays. And in the major qualifying final last Sunday at Kiama, it was a close one. Could have gone either way. Knights 30, Albion Park 28. This weekend on Saturday, they have what they call the minor grand final qualifying final. That's a mouthful. Albion Park versus Gerringong. Kickoff is 3 o'clock at Centenary. And then 24 hours later, the major grand final qualifying final. It's the minor premiers Shell Harbour versus Kiama at Ron Costello. In Group 16 last weekend, the grand final at the Dog Pound. Tathra defeated Merimbula Pambula 30 points to 18. Quite a remarkable result considering the Dogs did not lose a single game during the regular season. And congratulations having said that to Tathra on lifting the trophy in Group 16. In Group 9 in the Riverina, now before we get into the latest results, congratulations to Tamora's Hayden Philp. He picked up the prestigious Eric Weisel medal during the week. Philp, no stranger to this sort of stuff, albeit outside Group 9. Previously he won the best and fairest in neighbouring Group 20 on no less than 3 occasions. Now, as for last weekend, in what was sudden death for the Pickers and Dragons, Young 28, Tamora 14. And last Sunday, the major semi at Geo Hex and Wagga, Roos 34, Gundagai 16. So Roos, the Glamour boys, straight into the grand final. The preliminary final to be played this Sunday. It's Gundagai versus Young up at Twickenham, almost a home game for the Tigers. I bet the Pickers would not be happy. Kickoff, by the way, is 2:30. In Group 20 last weekend, the opening weekend of the finals, in what was sudden death on Saturday, Hay beat Yanko 20 points to 18, and in the Sunday game, Waratahs 30, Leeton 20. This Saturday at Yanko, the Greenies at home to Hay, starts at 2:35. That is sudden death. And then on Sunday from 2:50 at Darlington Point at the Chook Pen, the minor premiers, DPC, play Waratahs with the winner straight into the grand final. In the PMP in the Central West last weekend, Jeremy Thurston was the hero for Dubbo Sims. He was, the man of the moment. It was his field goal that lifted his team to grand final glory against Forbes. 23-22, the final score at Apex. Thurston also scoring a try and kicking 3 goals. Well done to Dubbo Sims and especially Jeremy Thurston. In the ACT, Canberra Raiders Cup action last Sunday, the preliminary final at Gungahlin, where Tuggeranong's incredible run finally came to an end thanks to Queanbeyan Kangaroos, the defending premiers Roos, defeating the Bushrangers 46 points to 24. The Bushrangers, by the way, they'd won 11 games straight before that defeat. So terrific season for the Bushrangers, but falling in terms of getting into the grand final. But they can certainly hold their heads high after that big winning streak, 11 on the trot for the Bushrangers. And that result means that Roos will play their eternal rivals, the Blues, in the big one this weekend. Now, it was supposed to be played on Sunday, but because of the Canberra Raiders semi-final now being played on Sunday at GIO, the grand final has been brought forward to Saturday. All roads lead to Seaford, the spiritual home, of course, of the Raiders, where Blues play Roos. Kickoff is at 3:30. And remiss of me not to acknowledge Darby Medlin from Tuggeranong, by the way, who recently collected the Les McIntyre medal, which goes, of course, to the best and fairest in the local competition. Congratulations to Darby Medlin from Tuggeranong. Finally, the George Took Shield. We eventually tracked down the final standings, even though the portal continues to malfunction in that regard. Bungendore, Boorowa and Crookwell all finished on 20 points in that order. Hard and Hawks were next on 19. Worth noting that the Hawks had the best for and against of any team in the competition. And after the Hawks, Bynalong on 15 points. North Canberra and Snowy River Bears both finished on 10. Googong 4 and UC Stars with the donut. Last weekend in the major semi, we had Bungendore, the minor premiers, at home to Boorowa. Tigers 26, Rovers 22. So Bungendore straight into the season finale, and at Crookwell in what was sudden death and what was arguably the best performance of the season by Hard Hawks. I'm sure they were chuffed to bits when they looked up at that scoreboard at full time. The Hawks flogging the Green Devils 48 points to 6. This Saturday, the preliminary final, Boorowa to face the Hawks at Boorowa. Kickoff is 2:30. That is New South Wales and the ACT done and dusted for another week. Coming up, our focus is Queensland's Tropics as we shine a light on last weekend's grand final in Mackay. And the first, of our special guests, former NRL and Super League superstar, Ben Barba. That's next on Bushbeat. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. It's Jason Costigan in the chair as always. And I tell you what, it's always a thrill when I come back to my hometown. I'm literally in Mackay, in my hometown in North Queensland, about 1,000 kilometres north of Brisbane. And I'm at the place they call Shark Park. Johnny Bickmore Oval is what some people also call it. I remember him as good as yesterday, and I'm with one of the stars who plays local rugby league. And our listeners around the world will know this bloke because he plied his trade in NRL and in Super League, and he was as good as it came because he won the Dally M and he won the Man of Steel. And yeah, he's still playing at the age of, 36. Ben Barba, great to have you with us.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mate, can I start from the get-go saying well done, because last weekend you played in some big games, massive games, but how does winning a grand final in your hometown compare to all those other achievements?
Yeah, it's always pretty special. I think the big one for me this year was actually my last one for club footy. So
That's it?
yeah, that's all she wrote now. So apart from a couple of carnivals coming up to Indigenous carnivals to finish off the year, it was myself and a couple of new people knew that this was sort of going to be the end of it, and to go out on top, winning a grand final again with the club. I think I won, I said 19, 20 years ago here at South, my first one, and to win my last one was pretty special.
So we're talking fairy tale stuff here, aren't we?
Yeah, it is. It was pretty good, and as I said, I made sure it wasn't all about me though. One thing about me, I've always been about the team, and I'm making sure I was not just motivating myself, but everyone around me, and we had a quite a job to do. I think most of this town, like all the time, were against us, and we showed on the night we were the better team for the year, and lucky enough to come away with it.
Now you talk about the rest of the town against you, and I'm going to drill right into that. And I think you know where I'm going with this. There's a perception out there in this town that Souths just buy premierships. And this is not the first time you've heard it. How do you, as a player, react to that and your teammates? Because you obviously had to put that noise to the side to deal with winning games, and that included the grand final.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of teams have been doing this for years now, and I think you can buy as many good players as you want, but it's the actual people that you want to invest in. And I think we copped a lot of slack because a few of us ex-guys turned up here and could have said it was all about the money, but as I said, you also got to be a good person. You also got to lead from the front, and I think the coach here beside me and Jason, the president, did a wonderful job in bringing the right people in. And look, we could have came here and collected our money really and wandered off into the distance, but we came here with a goal to get South back on the map. I think it was 11 years, as you see on the wall there, that since the last premiership, and this being I think 80 years for the club as well. It was good to go out like that, and yeah, it's you just sort of laugh at it because some clubs forget that they're also doing it too. So
now I want to ask you something that's a little bit interesting. I picked up on. I've been following South this year and your epic battles with the likes of Moranbah and Brothers and so forth. Whenever I saw the team lineup, I was looking for Ben Barba's name, and you never appeared. It was unavailable. Was that something that you did consciously, that you wanted to be under the radar and no one actually knew that you were running around in blue and gold for Souths?
No, I don't know why it doesn't come up, but yeah, every time I was named, it always said not available. So
what, you didn't tick the box?
Nah, yeah, I didn't tick the box to get my name on the Curawa website. So but look, I think a lot of people knew when they seen it there who exactly was playing. So it was no secret, and as big as this town is, the football whispers can travel pretty fast. So most weekends, a lot of teams knew I was playing, and they knew what was coming.
What about your teammates? I'm sure there's a couple of young kids that are coming through that probably evoke memories of when you were going through your development at that age. But what about the name players? Let's cut to the chase here. Sam Cassiano, massive CV, massive frame, massive impact off the bench.
Yeah, as I said, these guys, when we signed them, could have came here and just, as I said, come here and collected their money and didn't put so much effort into it. But someone for Semi's calibre to turn up, he was actually still living in Brisbane and was flying in and out to play certain weeks and then leave his families on weekends and all that sort of stuff. And to put the amount of effort he did, after the grand final, I spoke to him on the weekend and just to see how much he cared about this club and the people in it was a credit to himself and what he actually and probably showed the people around this town that again he was here to do a job, and that was to win football games for South.
I want to ask you about your brother Marmon. What a player he is, and I say this respectfully. For a long time, I'm sure, in fact, all his life probably living in your shadows. I'm sure you've heard that before as well, but he was very much at the forefront of your title success this year. In fact, they tell me he was the best player in the competition. Unlucky not to win the medal, the Bill Payton medal. Yeah,
I think he was too. And I think the big thing for him this year was his suspension rate. You can laugh about it now, but I think he went through without getting put on report or charged with anything. And it went to show in his footy. And I give credit to the bloke, as you said, because he probably on the grand final day the other week sort of kept me in line, where normally in the past it had been the other way around. So it probably went to show that he's probably maturing, and people also got to remember too, he's towards the back end of his career as well, and he's turning 34. And that's not a young guy, but to do what he did on Saturday last week was exceptional.
Ben, I can remember your dad playing and your uncles playing, your family playing here. You've been involved, your family and the clan, for a long, long time, as you know. Something you're proud of, I'm sure. What makes Mackay tick? Can you explain to our audience far and wide how Mackay just keeps churning out big-name players? Daly Cherry Evans, Wendell Saylor, Dale Shearer, Martin Bella, Brett Dallas, Shannon Hegarty, Owen Cunningham, my cousin Neville Costigan. I could go on and on.
Yeah, I think it's probably, as I said, the calibre of player that's always happened to turn up in this town. We've been lucky enough I grew up watching, obviously, my brother Aaron, and then he played alongside the guys like Brett Galia and his brother. So I think the amount of talent that have come and probably never went on to bigger and better things, but guys like myself and then the young guys had to learn from somewhere. And obviously you look at Dane, and obviously Uncle Ray too, Ray Gugger, who the player he was, and guys like that probably is why, and hence why we've got so many good and young kids back in the day coming through. And hopefully, as I said, myself and guys like Sam and Manu Mao and Mahe and Marmon and Kenny Edwards and all these guys running here can inspire some of these 17 to 20-year-olds that are at the club at the moment.
One final question. You're saying 36 and you're putting the Q in the rack. I don't want to say I don't believe you, but I'm looking you straight in the eye now, and I'm thinking, is he really telling the truth here? I know it's a fairy tale finish, and I can understand why you want to say that's it, that's all she wrote. But look at Cliffy Lyons and these other blokes, and I'm sure people will be saying, no way, he's still got plenty to offer. He can bat on.
Yeah, I think I've got this question quite a lot the last couple of days, but as I said to most of them, I'm pretty content with what my decision I've made, and I think a good way to put it, and I said it to someone on our Silly Sunday, that I'm probably just tired of being Benny Barba now, and I just want to go about my life just being dad, and which is giving back to my daughters, and I've got two that are into their footy, and it's probably time to put Benny Barba in the rack and just become dad basically to them, and that's my main focus from here on in, and I'm happy with that.
We wish you well with that. Just one final thing, it just came to me, and it would be remiss if I didn't touch on this. In terms of your Indigenous heritage, it's something that's very dear to you. You wear it very proudly. I'm looking at you now with what you.
Walgett.
Yeah. You got. Is that Walgett?
Yeah, this is Big Geordie Rose, and the Walgett side I play for, and the Aboriginal knockout every year. So.
Well, just quickly before we go to the break, can you tell us and tell our audience what you're doing there in the so-called silly season, the off season, because you're going to be playing in the Curry knockout, and there's probably a bit more.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm about to take off and do coach an Indigenous under-70s Mackay side for the carnival here in Mackay, but. My season finishes and I've got this weekend off, and then I'm down to Brisbane for the QMC, and then from then on in I'm nearly back in Mackay, here, there and everywhere, and then actually ended up in Perth for a Nines tournament. So my footy season probably won't finish till the end of October, but look, as I said, this is probably my last time around trying to do it all, and it does get tiring, and I'm looking forward to what's next, and the start of it is probably the coaching side with what I'm about to take off to now.
Sounds pretty deadly. We wish you well.
No worries. Thank you very much.
There he is, the one and only Ben Barba, speaking to us here on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com. A quick break, back with more from Mackay right after this. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. We're coming out of Shark Park on Mackay's south side in Milton Street. In fact, at the other end of the street, yours truly went to high school. That was many moons ago. And I'm at Johnny Bickmore Oval. I still call it Johnny Bickmore because he was an iconic figure tied up with Souths. And the man who's coaching the first grade side this year, Mark Bowden, joins me. And Mark, I'm not sure if you knew Johnny Bickmore, but he used to have that song Daisy. Did you sing Daisy after the grand final win last Saturday night?
Yeah, mate, we brought it back this year. Took me probably half the season to learn it, but yeah, they brought it back this year. They went away from it for a little bit, but they brought it back this year.
And no doubt you've heard a lot about Johnny Bickmore. He was, they didn't come any bigger in terms of legends here locally wearing blue and gold. He just loves Souths, and I'm sure the stories are still part of very much folklore.
Yeah, definitely. There's always chat about him. There's trophies after him. So, yeah, he's well respected in this football club.
Now, before we go any further, congratulations, because you won the premiership. And I guess South, because you've got the Leagues Club, you seem to be a club that's never short of cash. People expect you to at least be competitive year in, year out, if not playing in grand finals and winning them. So it comes with big expectations, but you got the job done. You must be chuffed to bits sitting here a few days after the whole event.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I said when I first come on board, I said this is going to be a 3-year plan, and in that plan, I said to the committee, I don't want to buy big name players straight away. I said that's not the way I want to do it. My main focus was to come in and change the culture first, and we knew that the 80 year was coming up. So I said, let's get hold of some local boys. Let's look at what's over at the cutters that probably aren't getting a run that could probably be good for us. So we went that way, and then we just put a little bit of icing on the top this year.
And what a competition it was. 7 teams, because, as you know, Carlton's, Norths, as they became back in the late 80s, didn't play first grade or A grade this year. That's disappointing from a league point of view, but you can only beat who's in front of you. And some of those battles that you had with, Moranbah and Brothers and even Magpies, tough stuff, nowhere to hide.
Yeah, tough competition has been since I've been involved with it, and especially this year, the Brothers boys, they get a lot of backing from the cutters, and the miners go really well because they can get jobs for the boys out there, and
big money jobs.
Big money jobs, yeah.
Just to put that into perspective, for some players, if you come to Moranbah, and they're a competitor, so without talking up your competitor too much, but can you explain what an advantage they've got, the Moranbah Miners, which has had its own production line of players, of course, Shifovsky, and who else has come out of there? Travis Norton, Josh Hannay, the current coach of Cronulla.
Yeah, there's some quality football's come out that way, and to be fair, they're doing a really good job out there, especially with their juniors. They're back on the radar as well, Moranbah.
But those big paying jobs, can you quantify that? What sort of money we're talking here?
They get houses. Them boys are on $3 grand a week. Some of them. And
from their day job?
Yeah. They get them. They set them up with the good jobs there. They're at home every night
with their family, and there's obviously some footy cash on top of that.
Yeah, mate, and it's not too bad either, the footy cash.
How do you compete with this?
We got a budget. We do have a budget, and we stick to it.
And you got a beach.
And we've got a beach, yeah.
In fact, quite a few beaches. Mackay's my hometown, as you know, and I'm always not backward and coming forward to tell people. It's changed over the years, but still a lovely lifestyle. Those southeasterly breezes in the afternoon, Sunset Bay, the northern beaches out at Imeo, Bucasia, terrific part of the world.
Yeah, it's not too bad up here. I like it. I just got to get the missus to like it a little bit more. I can hang around for a couple more years, but I'm enjoying my time up here at the moment.
Can I ask you about your history and your background, because you've got plenty of skin in the game in terms of your coaching pedigree and as a player and the Sunshine Coast, but also on the Central Coast north of Sydney. Tell us a bit about that.
It started probably a lot of my junior football. I started my junior football in Moranbah, believe it or not. My old man moved to the mines when I was about 6 or 7, I believe, and I started 3 or 4 years there, and we weren't the miners back then. It was the Bulldogs.
What, Bulldogs? Not Sharks, not Miners, but Bulldogs.
No, Bulldogs. Yeah, when I was back there in the 70s. Yeah, so
this is back when they had a couple of clubs playing in the Central Highlands.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So we'd go out to Blackwater and places like that. Dysart. Yeah. So
I bet it would have been Rafferty's rules back then.
Yeah, it was a bit different. But yeah.
How wild was that?
Yeah, bare feet, no boots them days. So started there. Then we moved back down to the Central Coast. That's where we were from originally. So done all my junior football there, grade football there. Got into a bit of coaching while I was a junior player. I'd coached the under-8, so I might have been playing 15s and 16s, and I just like coaching. It was my little brother was playing, so I got involved in his football team, and I think it just eventuated after that. I played grade there for a few years, and then got into coaching there, and it's just been in my blood.
We're speaking with Mark Bowden, the premiership-winning coach of Souths in Mackay. Mark, you had grand final success, if memory serves me right, with the Warragles on Bribie Island, another beautiful part of Queensland. How does that sort of compare with this at Souths with what you achieved last weekend?
Yeah, definitely up there. The 2001 grand final we won at Bribie Island was pretty special. We were a club there that ran on sausage sizzles. That was. That stays with me. The War Eagles won because we're a real club with nothing and just a heap of mates that wanted to play with each other, and we got the job done that year. It was great.
Let's talk about the players that you brought together this year. I don't know if it happened by fluke or by accident or by intent, but you said you didn't want to go and basically shell out big bucks to get players that had big CVs, but you ended up with players that had significant CVs, players that had played in Super League, the NRL, starting with Ben Barba. How did that all come together? Because it was one hell of a roster. You can go through it if you wish.
Yeah, originally Kenny Edwards approached us. He was over at Magpies, and he approached us. He wanted something different, and he said, he did bring a couple of players with him, local boys, and he said, we know Marmon's here. Maybe I can get hold of Benny and bring him. And I thought, mate, if you could do that, that'd be great. And then that happened, and then all of a sudden I've got Mahe that was interested, and then Martin Maher had been speaking to Kenny. He was moving back from Super League, so yeah, it just sort of fell into place. We didn't think we'd have big Cass. He said no originally.
This is Cassiano.
That's Cass, yeah, Cassiano. Originally he said no, it was a bit hard, his work commitments and all that. But it would have been probably a couple of weeks out of the season proper. He rang us and said, mate, is that offer still on the table? I said, definitely, mate, yeah, definitely. So, it all sort of fell into place. Like, we didn't think we'd have that many key players in the team. I remember probably the first session I brought him in, had a chat, and I've got all these superstars sitting in front of me going, holy hell, what am I going to do here? It was daunting, but when I had a chat with the missus, she said, yeah, you got this. You just, you coach them how you need to coach them. So
I've got to ask you, winning a grand final is one thing, but defending the trophy is another concept altogether. It's still early days. You're entitled to bask in some glory just a few days after lifting the trophy, but have you given much thought to 26 already?
Yeah, definitely. No, it was spoken about after the game. Like, literally, there was players going, Bowdo, let's back this up, eh? I said, mate, yeah, why not? It'll prove that we didn't buy a comp, wasn't a fluke. We did have it all our own way this year. The boys worked really hard, especially with these older guys. I had Benny and Cass, and they're all of age, and a lot of our Tuesday sessions weren't actually on the field. It was recovery, so really having to manage these older players, to get through the games the next week. So, yeah, different sort of coaching, but it worked.
One final question. Ben Barba, how did you manage him and get the best out of him? Because plenty of good judges and coaches have tried, and some of them have struggled. What about yourself?
I think me and Benny, it was about the honesty. There was a period of time coming up to the semis where he was struggling with a few injuries. He'd missed a few trainings. He was challenging me where he wanted to play, and at that time his brother was playing there and killing it. So
this is Marmon.
This is Marmon, yeah. So I sat him and Marmon down, and I said to Marmon, "Are you happy where you're playing right now at 6?" And he goes, "Yeah, I am." I said, "Benny, I've got to acknowledge that and respect that. At the moment, he's doing a job. I need you to do a job elsewhere." I knew he wasn't happy about it, playing fullback. And then it got to the pointy end, and I went, you know what, I need him in the halves. I need game management. So I sort of held him at arm's length a little bit, and then pulled him, Marmon in, the two hookers, and said, righto, here's the keys to the team. I said to the hookers, when he wants the ball, give him the ball. So I said, there, mate, can't give you any more than that, mate. I said, I've given you the team, don't let me down. So, yeah.
And you got the prize.
Definitely, yeah. He thrives on that sort of stuff, mate.
Mark Bowden, great catching up with you here face-to-face at Shark Park. Congratulations again on your achievement. We wish you well for the off-season and good luck for 26.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
There he is, the premiership-winning coach of Souths in Mackay, Mark Bowden, joining us on Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. A quick break, back with more right after this. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com and our statewide scoreboard for Queensland. Let's start with the far north of the state, and in Cairns last weekend, Suburbs and Brothers in the grand final under lights at Barlow Park. Full-time score, Brothers 18, Suburbs 12. That's now 4 straight titles for the Fish. That is a record, a new record in Cairns District Rugby League history. A great achievement for brothers. Well done to all concerned. And also hats off to Suburbs because, look, let's be frank here, they were in dire straits not that long ago. People questioning the club's future. But there's been a serious rebuild at Alley Park and they can be very proud of a great season, the mighty Cockatoos. In fact, in that grand final, they were down 18-0 early in the second half and they gave it everything to get within a converted try of Brothers. In Townsville last weekend, the preliminary final at Jack Manskey, where Brothers took on Western Lions. Brothers got the chocolates, 18 points to 8. They'll now take on the old enemy, Souths, in the grand final this coming Sunday from 3:45 at Jack Manskey. In Mackay, which of course has been our focus this week on Bushbeat, Brothers and Souths contested the grand final under lights last Saturday at BB Prince Stadium. Souths boasting the likes of Ben Barba, Sam Cassiano and co. 24-6 over Brothers. To the Wide Bay region and the Northern Districts, which involves those small towns between Bundy and Gladstone. Last Sunday, South Callan had home ground advantage against the Isis Devils in the Premiership decider, but it was the boys from Childers who reigned supreme. The Devils 38-32 over the Sharks. Congratulations to the Isis Devils. On the Sunshine Coast last weekend, the preliminary final between the Maroochydore Swans and the Coolum Colts at the Sunshine Coast Regional Stadium, and it was the Swans who snuck home 13 points to 12. Looking ahead, the grand final coming up on Sunday at the same venue. It's Stanley River versus Maroochydore. Kick-off is 4:30. Good luck to both teams. In the West Moreton, in Ipswich, last Sunday, Redbank Plains v Brothers in the preliminary final at the North Ipswich Reserve. And it was Brothers who had a big job in front of them, and they fell short. Bears winning, that's Redbank Plains, 28 points to 20. And the Bears to now take on the Jets in the grand final this weekend. That'll be Sunday afternoon from 4 o'clock at the North Ipswich Reserve. In Toowoomba, where they're getting ready for the Carnival of Flowers, a beautiful time of the year to be in the Garden City in Queensland. Last weekend, in sudden death, Brothers crushed Valleys. They, in fact, cooked the Chooks, 42 points to 4. And in the major semi, Gatton, the undefeated Gatton Hawks, 38-16 over Wattles. This weekend, it's Wattles and Brothers at the Toowoomba Sports Ground on Sunday afternoon. Kick-off is 2:30. And the winner, of course, to take on the Hawks in the grand final. Finally, on the Gold Coast, last weekend, Tugan up against Runaway Bay in sudden death at Betty Diamond. Seahawks 38, Seagulls 24. And in the game between Burleigh and Currumbin, Bears 36, Seagulls 22. Looking ahead this weekend, we've got Currumbin v Tugan in the preliminary final. That'll be played at Merv Craig Sporting Complex on Sunday afternoon from 3 o'clock. You are listening to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. I'm your host, Jason Costigan. Coming up, our final segment, which includes a look at grand finals played last weekend in Perth, Darwin and regional Victoria. That's next on Bushbeat. Welcome back to Bushbeat and our final segment where we look at the greatest game of all in 2 states plus the Northern Territory, encompassing 3 grand finals last weekend. Firstly, in Victoria, the Melbourne Storm Premiership, the Truganina Rabbitohs defeated the Casey Warriors in last weekend's preliminary final. 24 points to 20 it was. 4 tries apiece at the Haynes Drive Reserve. The Bunnies advancing thanks to superior goal kicking. Looking ahead, the grand final coming up on Saturday with Truganina to take on the minor premiers Northern Thunder, who qualified first and will start hot favourites at the Seabrook Reserve. Kick-off is 5:40pm local time. Good luck to both sides. In regional Victoria and the Goulburn Murray last Sunday, the grand final day at Glenrowan, an amazing finish to the local season from all reports, as the Shepparton Eagles pipped the minor premiers and former Group 9 heavyweights Tumbarumba in a thriller. 23-22 the final score. Eagles halfback Philly kicking the field goal to get Shepparton across the line inside the final 5 minutes of a game that could have gone either way. Congratulations to the Eagles. In WA, the Fuel to Go and Play Premiership coming to a climax last weekend. The Willagee Bears reigning supreme, and a watershed moment for the club, I must say. Established in 1962, the Bears had never won a first-grade grand final. That was until last Saturday night when they prevailed 22-10 against the minor premiers South Perth at Dorrien Gardens. A good omen for the Perth Bears, perhaps, but what we do know for sure is that this result locally will do wonders for local footy, especially after the domination of North Beach in recent times. So just summing up, for Willagee, their first grand final in 41 years and a maiden premiership in the top grade. A great news story, not just a good news story coming out of WA. And we should also acknowledge Samasani Langi, the former star player in both hemispheres, in both NRL and Super League. after he collected WA's version of the Dally M, or Man of Steel, just before the grand final. Langy coming away with the Ken Allen Medal. An incredible season he had with the Lions, doing everything but win the grand final. Finally, the top end and out of the Dabsco Premiership, congratulations to Brothers, who knocked off minor premiers Litchfield Bears 24-18 in the grand final. Brothers especially revved up after they had 2 points controversially taken off them during the season for off-field stuff. In fact, it cost them the minor premiership. But on grand final night, the Fish would not be denied. For the record, it was 4 tries apiece at TRL headquarters, with the boot of Dallas Colton proving crucial. He kicked 4 from 4, did Coulton. And conversely, just 1 goal for Frank Johnson medal winner Matthew Wilmington. And a special mention also to Ben Mullins, who scored 3 tries in a losing grand final side. A tremendous effort by the Bears winger, but sadly, no grand final glory. That is our show for this week. We're completely out of time, thanks to our special guests, Ben Barba and Mark Bowden from Premiership-winning Souths in Mackay. Thanks also to my colleague Steve Mascord in London for ensuring that you can actually hear us. And thanks to you for tuning in. Don't forget you can follow us on social media, rugbyleague.com, on various platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, you name it. Give us a follow, give us a like. For now, this is Costo signing off on Bushbeat. Stick around, the news is next.